Hi, everybody, and fellow toolboxers. Welcome to episode number 315. Another fun one. We're plugging and getting ready for AILA 2024, which is the big bash us immigration lawyers have. If you haven't gone to it already, buy your tickets as soon as possible because I think the fee increase is coming. And it's not the cheapest AILA conference ever. It's probably more record-breaking expenses, but it's worth it. So definitely check that out. I want to thank one of our main sponsors, Serenade Z Immigration, who's going to be there. They're going to have booths and everything. So check them out. They have, they not only does the technology really good, they're doing really interesting things in the future, which I really like. They're trying to upgrade with AI and develop a lot of extra capabilities to help our practices and case management, all sorts of different things. Reason why I say is come to AILA 2024. They got booths there and really walk you through all the updates and existing stuff. And you can just ask questions. The owner's going to be there too. So let's go straight to the top. So I want to thank them for sponsoring. And if you're interested in marriage immigration, you want to train your staff, your lawyers, even paralegals, we have a course for you, marriage immigration course that goes over adjustment of status, consular processing, and admissibility, all the big stuff to teach your team or yourself how to get a marriage green card firm up and running like myself. So just email me if you want information about that, info@immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com. Having said all that, Roman, let's get you on. Thanks for coming on again. What button do I press? There we go. Good to see you, bro.
Good to see you. Thank you so much, John. I always love talking to you here.
Yeah, same here. It's been a bit. I'm guessing you're uptown in your cabin, uptown New York, upstate New York.
Yeah,
Is that what they call it?
upstate. I'm way uptown. I'm super uptown.
Well, you're going to be at the
Absolutely.
AILA conference. You are, and you're also laborless. I mean, you have multiple companies. Just a little background about the kind of work you do with immigration lawyers. That's
Yeah,
probably
sure. Of
listening.
course. Of course. I'll give a very quick background. First of all, I definitely agree on AILA annual. It's not the cheapest conference across the board because people go to their regional, their local chapters. But AILA annual is so great. I mean, you get to be with your colleagues for 3-4 days in a row. And so it gives you an opportunity to learn and get a lot of CLE credits if you need them, and also kind of catch up with people because you have, if not today, then tomorrow or the
Yeah.
next day. So I definitely really recommend it. For me, I don't practice anymore. For anyone watching who may not know me, I don't practice anymore. I used to practice high volume immigration on the H-1B side and launched a company called Laborless, which automates H-1B compliance. So for anyone who does that work, LCAs, public access files, we automate and digitize that entire process. And then, of course, I do run a small marketing agency called GMI Rocket. And so we work with immigration firms and other companies in the industry, helping them with digital marketing. But one of the things that I love about GMI Rocket is it's kind of my playground where I can, experiment with different events and things and courses. And, so, one of the things I'm really excited about for AC 20, Annual Conference 2024 for AILA is because it's in Chicago, which is the like mecca of improv comedy. I'm actually organizing an improv show at one of the historic improv theaters on the first night of the annual conference. So I really hope that folks can, who are going to attend AILA annual conference will go to the show.
What time is it going to be? Because I just realized the SoCal AILA chapter thing is going to be like even first a Wednesday, the first night. It's probably later in the night, I'm guessing.
It is after the happy hour. So on the
Okay,
first
perfect.
night, Wednesday, there is an AILA sponsored happy hour, and obviously, in communication with them and not trying. I don't want to encroach on their time because I'll be at the happy hour as well.
Yeah.
So at 7:30, the happy hour ends, and then effectively we'll have buses for anyone who's joining. We're going to have buses from the venue, from the hotel, where the conference is, to the venue and back. It's going to be really nice. If it does, there are some attorneys and staff that are going that had maybe we're thinking about dinner plans. The show will have dinner and
Mm.
drinks prior to the show, and then there's going to be the show. So come have your team event there. I don't know when the SoCal chapter meeting is, but you can totally have your meeting over dinner
Yeah, I think it's earlier.
at
Like they
the
have one
theater.
earlier. Yeah.
Nice.
Well,
Yeah.
that's gonna be fun. I mean, I saw you had to buy tickets beforehand. There's an Eventbrite a link or like a page that you go to.
There's an Eventbrite link. Yep. I'm calling, I'll share the link with you as well. But if you just go to Eventbrite and you search immigration improv comedy night, you will find it. It's gonna be awesome. And just to share, you know, uh, I did improv my 1L summer, okay, during law school. I got a job at Fragament, which is how I was introduced to immigration law in the first place. Even though my family immigrated, we came here as, refugees from the Soviet Union, but we never talked about our immigration experience. And I got this job at Fragaman because I wanted to do corporate, and it like was corporate immigration. I thought, sure. And I
Yeah.
really fell in love with it. And that sort of put me on this track to where I am today, where I practice and all this other stuff. Um, but that first summer of my 1L year was also the first time I took an improv class in New York City. So I arrived to my internship at Fragment and I said, "Hey guys, it's so great to be here. Thank you. I'm excited for this opportunity. By the way, I'm going to have to leave a little early on Thursdays because I have this comedy class I'm taking, which may not have been the best way to introduce myself as a legal intern, but improv has been, it blew my mind when I took it. It's an incredible, it's fun, sure, and it's funny, but as an attorney, as a law student, it gave me, built so much skill, public speaking skills, thinking quickly on your feet, creative storytelling. I mean, all of these things are so crucial to, at the time I was thinking, to immigration law students, or sorry, to law students, and then eventually when I was practicing, and since then as a business owner, to sort of us legal professionals and entrepreneurs. So I'm really excited to bring improv to the AILA community, and sort of, yes, it's going to be a fun and funny show, but I'll also share a little bit of thoughts, and just, I hope people will make the connection between how fun this sort of art form can be, and also
Mhm.
for those who may want to take a class, how amazing it is to build a lot of these kind of basic soft skills that help us as attorneys.
For sure, yeah. The local community college sent a pamphlet, and they had kids, improv classes. I don't know if my kids in there summer or one of them. I'm like, "Oh, let's get that started up and running, be able to just think on your feet and to get things in."
Totally. It's amazing, and it builds so much confidence. When I took, when you take your level one class, at least in my theater, or theater I'm was at and performed at in New York, the teacher always asks, "Why are people here?" Right? And a lot of folks say, "Well, I want to get better at talking to people and out in the world. Somebody may say, I want to meet somebody, and this will help me kind of be a better conversationalist to a potential partner." Other people say, they're shy and they want to get better at not being shy on stage. And so nobody says because I want to laugh. I mean, sure, that's a
Yeah.
byproduct of it, but it's fascinating. You go to an improv class and everyone has kind of a real life reason to be there. And so, yeah, again, I'm more pumped for this than like any of my businesses. If I could be an improv event planner for the legal community for the rest of my life, I would do it.
Well, I mean, it's sort of improv, but we didn't mention you also have a podcast, GMI Rocket Podcast, which focuses a lot of tech sector, almost exclusively on tech and innovation side of the immigration practice.
Absolutely.
What are you seeing this year right now in 2024 with regard to the AI changes or any other changes that's on your notice?
Yeah, and by the way, you've been a guest on my show, so for anyone listening, if you want to hear John's backstory, your incredible journey,
Nice.
becoming an immigration lawyer and everything you've done, please check that episode out. Yeah, this year has been fascinating. I have interviewed a lot of AI startups, so folks that are pretty early, have a handful of clients, are really getting their product market fit, et cetera, but they came on the show, and I love having early stage founders in the immigration space, because I think for the attorneys and others in our industry that watch, it gives them an idea of where things are going. So generative AI, I mean, we've heard of all of this, but it's really blowing up. I mean, it's not just, reading a form and reading a document and populating a form. It's also generating cover letters, right? It's generating support letters, maybe country condition reports if you're doing kind of asylum work.
Yeah.
So that those heavy drafting projects are being done, not obviously fully, right? So you'll get your first draft, or through one of these Gen AI products, but that is something that's dramatically different from what we're used to, which is basic kind of, I don't want to say basic, but case management that, helps
Yeah.
you organize your workflow and collect documents from clients and all that stuff. That's great. And that exists. This is this additional layer of technology entering the immigration space where, again, you have help drafting something that may have taken hours before and now takes minutes. Yes, there's editing, there's, double checking, et cetera, but you get that initial draft very quickly. And these are products that are built specifically for immigration. So it's not saying, "Hey, Chat GPT,
Yeah.
get me an asylum affidavit." It is going to a product that knows immigration. It knows what needs to be included in that affidavit, et cetera. And so it gives you a pretty decent work product right off the bat. And so I'm seeing a lot of that, which is really cool.
Yeah, I've been demoing regularly everyone in the field and this stuff. It looks like it's at the cusp of being like next level, but the cusp is like everyone's like in March we're gonna have like full translation to everything, and it's like May or now it's not happening, but it's I can understand it isn't, but it seems like everything's on the cusp. And I've been just doing all these demos. Like there's amazing software, but you dig into it, they're like, oh, the main thing it does is amazing, but the secondary things aren't as well done. So it's not like and that's been a little frustrating. And essentially with every company is the same. It's just and then I've returned back to look how my law firm's operating. I'm like, oh yeah, so we're really good at maybe like the marketing portion, the case management, but like the connecting someone from a lead to sales is like choppy, or like there might be a typo in the contract fix. Like, so I appreciate what they're going through. It's a hard thing, but it's kind of like it's frustrating because for me to study tech, it takes so much energy.
Yeah.
And when I finish I'm studying, I find like glitches. I'm like, oh man, like it makes me extra frustrated. But and it's hard to get them fixed in a while.
Well, let me share this with you. I'm actually speaking at the AILA conference during one of the lunch sessions about this topic. Number one, it's amazing that you're spending your time doing demos. I highly recommend people who are listening to this or to to just try out tech, even if you're not shopping. Just see
Yeah,
what's out there, see what features others have, and so that's important. Yes, it takes some time, but maybe do it on a day or set aside some time weeks in advance to do a demo with different tools that are out there. But then the other thing I would say is don't be afraid to reach out to your existing provider and kind of work with them to get more features onto the tools that you're already using. I think I really appreciate, now that I've gone from the immigration lawyer to sort of the tech founder. I appreciate that you see, us as people and like as a business, and realize that yes, things aren't perfect because we're people, and like sometimes a contract has a typo, just like sometimes a tool has a bug, right? And you just have to fix it. And I think a lot of times, maybe attorneys in our space, but frankly, a lot of people forget that we've come to expect so much perfection from apps. I mean, we use Uber, we use like, Spotify, and for the most part, those apps work very, very well, but they are billion-dollar companies. If you come to the immigration world, we don't have that kind of size, that capacity, and so teams are smaller and run more scrappy. And I think it's a really mature and reminder to put yourself in the shoes of your vendor, your provider, and say, look, I know you're also running a business. Um, Here's an idea that would make it better, right?
yeah.
Rather than just, I hate this tool, let me go somewhere else. Or here's an issue that I'm seeing. Can you please fix it, and like understand what they're going through. I see a lot of this on the Facebook groups, and I think it's really important to remember that
Yeah.
we're all working together
Well,
for the
it's
better.
interesting. These vendors are going to reflect the population they're working with, and small immigration firms are the bulk of it, so they're going to kind of reflect that too. Because the big people, they have their own Salesforce custom made. The top five size, they have their own custom made. They don't use big ones or the company. So, well, and one thing that kind of put the first two notes you put together when I started doing demos of other software and like competitors, what I'm using. I was like, oh wow, I could do that. Then I went back and like, oh, our software could do that the whole time. I just never like got into it. So then we
Yeah,
spent a bunch of time. It's just super time consuming. Essentially,
yeah,
I haven't really been practicing law for the first quarter of the year. I was just like studying software, and it kind of drove me crazy. But it's just still more to study. That's the problem. It's just so much. Like I want to make a course out of it to save the people the time what I went through. But it's just hard because like there's like 5 different CRM systems that immigration lawyers typically use. I went through 2 of them, and like I'm not sure if I have the stomach to go through another 2 or 3 and test them out. It's just too much work. Unless I make a separate channel like Marquis on Tech on YouTube. He's the guy who does a lot of like. And I would like to have an offshoot of that. I'm not sure how profitable it would be, but I have an associate who's helping with him. I really want to train him for him to make an offshoot of the toolbox that just talks about these things. But there's also the issue of you don't want to say negative stuff too because I feel the field. So it's
right.
like it gets a little weird.
Yeah, and also, a lot of the demos are pretty bespoke. I'll even say this for Laborless. We're a very niche product. And even though the product itself has, it has certain things that every client gets, especially when we work with bigger clients, but honestly, even smaller ones, depending on what their needs are and their workflow is, I'll do a slightly different demo to address their concerns rather
Yeah.
than the concerns of a different type of firm. So listen, a YouTube channel and a course would be amazing. I think it would be a really good way for people to narrow down what they want. And then they go out and say, okay, John talked to 40 companies. 6 of them are really relevant to me. Let me go also now talk to those 6.
Mhm.
I think that would be great. I think that'd be really great.
Yeah, I have my notes. It's got to do it more and consistently. I mean, there's so many branches of immigration law that could be interesting, and they can make a profit for sure because there's a huge need for all this data information, these services. It just when you're talking about your background, and going through your story, the typical thing they push everyone towards is work at a big law firm. You made it, you're at this one, but kind of branching off, doing your own thing is this really cool thing to do, and just like taking your destiny into your own hands. Um,
Yeah.
uh, I go along into that, but I was just thinking about that when you tell me a story of just taking the independent route, just going the road less traveled and see what happens. It's adventurous at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that working at a big firm first is helpful because then you can see what a very well organized law firm does, in
Yeah,
terms of technology, document management, client management. And then when you go off on your own practice, of course, it's going to be less corporate and more hands on. But at least, I mean, it's something as simple as how do you structure your files inside of your folder for each
yeah,
case, for each client? You may not, if you go to a big firm, people have been thinking about it for decades. And so you usually have a best practice there. Whereas if you graduate from law school and go off on your own, I mean, something as simple as figuring out how to name your files, your
yeah,
folders within it could be a difference between, messing something up or not, being more efficient or not. So, yeah, look, I think it's really helpful to work at a big firm and then break off on your own. A lot of people do it. I think the big firms acknowledge that. They know that they sort of lose people, not in a bad way, but in just the natural course of things.
yeah.
But I'm a big proponent of that, definitely.
Yeah, there's always little stuff you said, like even file naming's a thing. One thing recently we started doing is I force, I guess force team members to get a rotation to share their screens while we're talking and looking up stuff in Zoom meetings. And then you'd be surprised how much just handling in Gmail you could add a labels here of all your files go there so they don't fill up your inbox. Or if you press spacebar on Mac, it opens up a preview. Or we use some certain software that if you click one button, it opens up. Other team members didn't know. So like one person did this special key. Like you could do that. I didn't know. I just saved like literally a second every email, infinite amount of time. Like there's a couple of those happened in last 2 weeks that were just mind blowing. We just stopped the meeting and said, if that is all we did is to share this one fast key on our keyboard, that we just saved the year like amount of time that we're saving. So there's just so many of like really you say dumb stuff or you're like just you don't know, and then someone tells you like I didn't even know I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And it's like that's so much better life. Like even right now, this morning we have one where Gmail has a system where when you reply, it has an auto signature. Or no, you send the first email as auto signature, but if you want to reply, there's a different one. And I didn't even know that was there. So I was like constantly deleting the bottom portion, like my signature line every time I would send out a reply email, so it doesn't have to bulk up the email. I'm like, I'm just breaking my finger for no reason, and it's so much like 5 years of doing that probably.
Right.
I was like,
Yeah,
how did I know that? Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, I think that's such a great point. To your other question about other trends that I'm seeing, kind of maybe not related to that very much, but my last Jam I Rocket episode was with a founder who is starting a business or has started a business that is specifically a document collection
I
workflow, like
watched
a,
the
a
interview.
tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's guy went
And it
to
was
Harvard or something like that, and then got into this.
yeah, Harvard Business School. He dropped out of Harvard Business, although I think he's on pause. His name's Adam Scharf. I think he finished the first semester of his the 3L year, so he's one semester away from being done. But he got this amazing opportunity to participate in Y Combinator, which is really famous
Yeah.
tech incubator in California. And so, I mean, I love the fact that he did that. If it were me, I would be too, you know, set in stone and say I have to finish law school. I
Yeah, it's
can't take
hard.
this risk.
That's really the road less traveled, breaking it out and going a different direction.
Yeah, so I admire him for doing that. But his product, it's called Pigeon. It's specifically a document gathering tool. And you'd think to yourself, well, every company, you're gathering documents through your case management platforms, et cetera. But then when you really dig deeper, you realize that case management platforms, the thing that they're absolutely the best at is interweaving the different people of different parts of your workflow. So you're who can see the progress of a case. How do you communicate an email through the platform with your client? Obviously, form filling and immigration is very important, etc.
Yeah.
And document gathering is like, it's there, and there are certainly features for it, but sometimes they're not the absolute most built out. Here you have a team that's only focusing on that. And so I guess they've developed something that gives you just that little bit of extra edge
Mhm.
to make document collection easier. Maybe the way they nudge the client so that if they forget, to remind them.
Yeah.
Maybe the way they categorize or organize document uploading, etc. And I think that's really interesting. The fact that you can have a business out of something that's such a small sliver of the workflow, if you can integrate with other tools out there, this is
Yeah.
how our practice is going to get better. You use DocketWise, let's say, for your main, or Serenade for your main case management, and then you tack on this like supercharged document collection
Yeah.
thing to make that process better. Then you use Laborless to supercharge your compliance for just your H-1B. And then you sort of have this web that you create of all these tools. As long as those tools integrate and talk to each other, I think that this is really great to enhance immigration practice.
I'm glad you mentioned. I only have a few minutes, but that's so important because so many of the softwares I'm demoing, they're trying to be the all-in-one. But I realize that's like, not to be offensive, it's a fool's errand to be all-in-one because you're just not going to do it right. So the key is integration, and almost all of them do one thing so cool and well, the main thing, and they're so focused on that, everything falls apart. That's why the integration is like separating out each portion. And it was kind of annoying because the idea of all-in-one means, oh, you're saving money in all in one. Unfortunately, it's just it is what it is. You got to pay more and have overlapping software.
Right.
That's the conclusion I've reached. It is what it is. Just hope for proper integration, which I haven't
Yeah.
had problems. Zapier is such a pain in the butt to use on some of our stuff. It's driving me crazy. But integration, that's the future.
Amen. Agreed.
Well, cool,
Agreed.
brother. Stay on the line for minutes go off. But if you want to reach out to you, I mean, obviously you got to follow me on LinkedIn if you haven't already, Roman.
Please.
I used to write a lot on LinkedIn, and because I don't, I'm like too ashamed to even open up LinkedIn right now. I'm not doing it. I haven't opened up LinkedIn in 6 months. But
Oh
I'm assuming
no.
you're still posting like great content there.
Yes. Every day. Almost every day.
Definitely.
So
So follow you there, and then yeah, any Twitter or any other places to follow you at?
Instagram and Facebook, I basically reshared the same information just to go on different channels, but LinkedIn is definitely the place. And again, for folks who are attending AILA annual conference in Chicago, come to the comedy show. It's going to be a blast. You're going to learn. You're going to laugh. It's going to be wonderful. So I hope to see you all there in Chicago. And are you going, John? Chicago?
Yeah, and I have the window
Okay,
open to purchase a ticket too. It's on the plans. We're gonna have a big party. The only thing is I'm used to
amazing.
sleeping at like 8:39 p.m. So I'm like, how am I gonna be awake Eastern time? That's gonna be like 2:30 in the morning or something by that point for me. But
Oh
we'll do it. Let's
yeah.
do it.
You'll listen. It's going to be worth it. You'll laugh. It's
Yeah.
going to be great.
I'm just gonna miss out on all the conferences the next day. I'll oversleep, but it's
Uh,
okay. It's all really the conference is about networking. We can
yeah,
catch the training videos and the audio later. It's all about that
exactly.
kind of stuff. Thanks a lot,
Exactly.
Roman. It's good seeing you again, brother. I'll see you
Thank
soon.
you, John. I appreciate you. Thank you for having me.